Hello, my name is Daniel, and today I'm going to show you how to install a Hyperledger Fabric 1.1 alongside Composer 019 something and the Hyperledger Blockchain Explorer. So, um, if you clicked on this video, you most likely know what Fabric is. Um, but as for Composer, Composer is a blockchain provisioner, so it very easily simplifies the provisioning of blockchain networks. Also, Blockchain Explorer allows you to view all the transactions that happen within a blockchain network. So you install it under any Fabric installation, and it works pretty well. So right now, I am installing Ubuntu 18.04 on a VM. The reason I didn't install 16.04, even though that's the sort of mainline version everyone's using, is because it just gives me a bunch of errors with grpc when I try using the same installer. But when I use 18.04, then I don't get any issues. So I'm just gonna add some. Just gonna complete the profile, and after that I'll just yep, it's installing the system. So I'll be back when everything's already installed. Alright, now that my Ubuntu installation is finished, I'm just going to log in real quick. And just update everything on the install. And this is probably going to take a good amount of time as well, so this is something I'm going to skip again. Alright, so since that's done, I'm just going to get the IP address, and then I'm just going to, what should I do? Oh, just reboot to, and then I'm just going to open a terminal. Maybe I need to wait a few minutes. There we go. Alright. So once we have this, I'll just make it bigger. Then I'm going to install some of the prerequisites that I can install via apt. That's going to take a bit of time, but not that much, I don't think. Oh, I don't even know I have a open SSH server on there. I guess I can remove it since it's not really used, but obviously having SSH is helpful when you're going to a different machine. All right. At this point, we're going to install Docker, so I have a very handy curl script that I can use for that. Okay, and then now I'm just going to add my user to the Docker group, and here's a little hack that will let you sort of log in and log out, because that's what you need to do for Docker when you install it. And there's Docker Compose. Let me actually, yeah, let me make the text bigger so it's easier for people to see. Actually, let me just run through the history just to make sure everyone has a good idea of what happened. Yeah, I just upgraded, um, installed a bunch of prerequisites, got Docker, Docker Compose, and now I'm going to, yeah, give privileges to Docker Compose for executing, and now I'll install Node.js. I tried installing via package manager, but I just got a lot of issues with permissions. So I decided, oh, okay, I'll just extract from the source and keep Node in my home directory so I don't have that many problems. And then I'll just add the node bin to path, source profile. And then let's install, or let's update npm just to make sure everything's all right. All right, now I'm gonna install grpc, which is one of the very necessary files for all, or it's necessary to all the Fabric architecture. As you may have seen, everything is using grpc. Okay, now I'm just going to install all the composer um, npm packages in one go, and this will take a very decent amount of time. So that's finished, and now I'm going to install Go. Okay, yeah, there we go. And try to use uh, a version of Go above 1.9, preferably 1.10, just because I've experienced issues trying to compile Hyperledger on lower values, and for this I'm going to export a lot of variables to profile. So GoPath um, is set to optgo and GoBin is set to optgobin. This is just so when you create your sort of Go path, it should not be within your Go directory basically. So if you have it installed on some USR local Go, which I have, you don't want to put your Go path there, even though you could in theory. It's just not practice to do so. And so you create another directory for your own personal projects and stuff. So yeah, now I'm just going to go to opt.go src github.com Hyperledger, and now I'm going to get the Hyperledger Fabric binaries, and if you tried installing Hyperledger without installing these binaries, I think you can do it, but say you want to run CryptoGen or create cryptx later, or peer to manually do some things on your own, you wouldn't be able to do that if you don't make these compile these binaries. Oh yes, I installed some Ginkgo just to make the compiling process smoother. And at this point, this make this clean all, you're gonna have to run this a bunch of times before it actually gives you a correct result. I'm gonna start it, but it's gonna take a really long time. Like, I'm probably just gonna go for a run or something and then come back and deal with it later. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I'm back, and apparently my computer shut down randomly during the process, so I'm just gonna run make this clean all again to see what happens. Yeah, this should take a while. Alright, so we have a unit test that failed. That was expected. Just run the thing again. Wait for a couple minutes. So, yeah, it failed again, so we'll run it again till it works. So at this point, the test suites have succeeded. So we can move on to the next portion, which is basically a copy of deploying a multi-org Fabric instance to Hyperledger Composer. So we're just gonna go to the root file system, clone the Fabric samples, and then we're gonna download the platform-specific Fabric binaries. So this will give us version 110. So we have our samples, not samples, Docker images. So now we can just put these in the profile, in the path. And now we're ready to start the Fabric network. And just run this script here. This will create all the certificates for the Fabric. And we'll do this to bring it up. Oh yeah, at this point, you're going to want to open up another terminal. Because the one above is not going to the one above is going to need to be persistent, basically. Okay, so at this point, we're going to get ready to use Composer. We're going to create this BYFN network, and this is going to basically contain the, what's the word? Basically everything, the network layout. So you're going to want to go to, this website right here. And download or copy this right here. This just gives you the base layout. And notice here it has insert order CA cert, insert org1 CA cert. We're going to use those later. Well, actually, we're going to use those right now, but I need another terminal. Alright, go to the directory we were just in, and we are going, so this command right here copies the orderer cert from the crypto config folder in first network. We created our certs earlier, so this is going to bring the cert into the temp composer CA orderer text, and we'll just display that. And what we're gonna do is copy that to the file right here. We just insert that like so. We're gonna do the same thing with org1. Copy and paste that. And we copy and paste this twice because there are two peers for org1. And there you go. And do the same for org2. For both peers. Okay. So now that we've saved that, we can go and we'll need to make different BYFN network JSON files for each of the orgs. And the way that works is in the org1 file, we're going to add the client right in the middle of version and channels. So that goes like that. That's perfect. And you notice the organization is org1. And then we do the same thing for the other network, other org. And this one's org2. All right, now the next terminal. I can run all these in sort of a batch. Won't be an issue. And here is the sort of meat of the thing. This is going to create a peer admin card for the first org with the certificates that it gets from the crypto config, and that works good. I don't want to have to repeat these steps, so having things work on the first try is very nice. This is going to import the card into the network. There we go. Okay, and now for this next thing, I'm just going to download all the composer sample networks because we're gonna need. I'm going to initialize a business network just for the just to show how composer works with the multi-org setup. You're going to need to have to install both. Install the network on both orgs simultaneously, or not simultaneously, but it'll need to be initialized the same way on both orgs, because if you go through the web, it'll only initialize one at a time, basically. Actually, I'm just gonna try doing that. I'm gonna try initializing a network just randomly. Unless it actually works and I just stand here looking like an idiot. I don't know. We'll see what happens, honestly. It's admin and admin PW for the network. Okay, I'm getting a promises rejected to unknown. Cannot get package for chain code. And a bunch of status errors on the right here. Yeah, at this point, I'm just going to exit out. And let's see, is this thing done yet? So the bootstrapping is done, and we're going to basically copy the trade network into our first network directory and install it on each of the networks. There we go. Do the same with org2. This may take a minute. Okay, while that's going on, I'm just going to look at the other stuff. Go back to Composer. Edit endorsement policy. Now this is, you need to have a member from each of the orgs sign the endorsement policy for a business network to be deployed. So I'm gonna create Alice and Bob, which serve as members of org1 and org2 respectively. And okay, this is gonna take a while, but I am going to start the Composer network with the trade network and endorsement from Alice and Bob. And this is definitely gonna take a while. So finally the command succeeded, and I'll create a card for Alice in order to use the trade network as Alice. Import that card. And test whether Alice is on the network. Yep. Okay, now we're going to create one for Bob. And import that and test him on the network. Alright, so now I'm just going to start Composer in a background mode. Composer Playground. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to run in the background, and then I'm going to switch to the next thing, which is creating the Blockchain Explorer. I'm going to install Postgres. Alright, and then I'm going to get the Blockchain Explorer. Okay, and cd into Blockchain Explorer, open Postgres, and there are these scripts that are inside the Blockchain Explorer Git repository that you should run. It's kind of a wonky script. If you look at it, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now we go to configuring this. This basically will join with the network, so now I'm just going to get the location of my fabric. Fabric install, and my home is /home/Daniel, so that's what I'm doing right now. think that's, yep, I think that's it. Just gonna give it a one final look to make sure I didn't screw anything up. Okay, that looks good for now. Now it's time to npm install. Okay, and then cd app test, npm install. You know what? I'm just gonna skip all the npm installs for your. Okay, and then we npm run test. Passes the test. Whoop-de-doo. Another npm install. Okay. And we're just gonna test for coverage. Just trigger a test run. Everything looks good. npm run build. Just gonna be back in a sec. Okay, so that finished, and now all that's left to do is start. Okay, so to sort of test things out, let me open up a web browser. This will go to Hyperledger Composer. We're going to connect to Alice. We got to Alice. And over here, we're going to go to the Blockchain Explorer. Actually, I am going to keep them on the same thing here. As you can see, the basic sample network we put transaction count is 0, which is interesting. Maybe because it failed at the beginning, there was no reason to do anything about it. So let's see, we got 7 blockchain transactions, 4 nodes. I'm gonna try running a random transaction and just randomly create a trader. I'm gonna create a commodity. And then I'll just let me see if I can create a owner is 7035. Oh, let's make this 7245. And now, let me try submitting a transaction where I trade what's the name of the commodity? 5023. I'm gonna trade commodity 5023 to the new owner to 539. We'll see what happens. Transaction submitted. And if so, this should, yep, see the trader number has been updated. Let's look at Hyperledger Composer. There's more transactions. Gives you the transaction detail and other stuff. So, yep, I think this concludes this video. Hope you learned something. I will, this thing on the left, I shall put these instructions somewhere. I don't know when. I'll upload the video first and then deal with putting this in a Git what's it called, gist format or something. Yeah, I'll do that. All right.